Well,
Derek, I do not have an email from you with anything right now.
Hang on, let me send the email back to you.
Okay. The final, again, it's the 2 parts. You don't have to take them at the same time. You could do, say, the questions one day and even the next day do the programming. I will open it up Sunday morning, and you will have till 11:30 on Wednesday evening to do both parts. So you could do, say, the programs on Sunday afternoon and do the questions on Monday night if you want, or you could do both together. If I'm still trying to finish the questions part, they're going to be either 20 or 25 questions. If there are 20, you'll have 30 minutes to do it. If there are 25, you'll have 35 minutes to do it. The program part, you will have 2 hours. You will write 2 programs. You will be given, and I'm going to send out either tomorrow or Friday morning some instructions. I've got a couple of things I still need to add to the instructions.
Okay, I just sent it.
Okay. You will choose from 2 groups. Now, you have to read the instructions carefully because I cannot figure a way to get D2L to show me those sections separate. So it's showing programs 1 through 6. Program 1, 2, and 3 that it shows you will be section 1. 4, 5, and 6 will be section 2. You'll pick one program from each of those sections. So you pick one of the programs from program 1, 2, and 3 and do that. One program from 4, 5, and 6 and do that one. Since there's no way to time things in the Dropbox, these will be done in the quiz. So you'll open up the quiz, you'll see your questions, and you'll pick, okay, read through the first 3 and say, oh, I know how to do the 3rd one I got. Once you finish that, you submit it, you copy your program into the answer box. Then you go down to read through 4, 5, and 6 and decide which one of those 3 you want to do, and then copy that answer when you're finished, and then submit. And then I will have to manually obviously grade those, and because of the way we're doing it, the grading is just a bit of a pain to do. But in it, what I'll have to do is take this code that you submitted, copy it into PyCharm. I may have to do some reformatting because it doesn't always get the indents and all right when you copy and paste. That's okay. I will do any re-indenting that I need to do. And once I've got that done, I will then run the program and see how close you are. Okay. Does that answer?
Will it not let us? Will it not let us upload the .py programs through the assignments folder? Or are you trying to keep?
I cannot time you that way because you're timed. In the assignments folder, I can't do a time. If it could, that's where I would do it. All you need to do is just do a Control-A to copy out, and then Control-C to copy all out of your PyCharm window, and then go and either Control-V or right-click and paste in the quizzes. If there was a way to time you so that I could find, so that once you opened the assignments folder, you had the 2 hours from there, then I would do it that way. But there's no way that I found that you can do that. You can have a start and an end time, but then I would have to have everybody start at the same time and end at the same time.
Right.
Okay. Right. Robert, did that get your answer?
Yes, and I did have another question, but I'm trying to remember what it was.
Okay. Well,
Kayla has a question she put in on the chat. She
Okay.
asked, is it true that they're deciding on if campus will open in the fall or not?
okay. The last word I heard is the plan is fall is going to be regular on site, everything just like it normally is. Unless the governor or the president or somebody makes a change, all plans for fall is this is going to be a normal fall. Summer is all online, so there's nothing offered in the summer that is not an online class. But the plan is, and this was in our division meeting. This isn't a secret, so I can tell you. This was in our division meeting last week, so I think share this. Is the plan is right now fall is going to be just like a normal fall. Between now and August, things could change. I suspect they're not going to. I really think by August, we're going to have to be back to, everything's going to have to be back to normal. We just can't not do that. And I saw today or yesterday where, whether you like him or not, the president decided that the Chinese aren't going to be able to shut down our meatpacking plants. They own Smithfield and they are a big investor in Tyson, and both had shut down their plants. And the president has ordered that they can't do that. So he's used, and it's legal. There is a legal law that was passed for World War II that's still on the books. So the meatpacking plants aren't going to be able to close. And the Chinese had done that on purpose, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So
They're importing meat from Africa right now.
Yeah.
From South America, because our meat packing places are closed. They're shipping in meat from overseas. And that's why the prices are through the roof in the store.
Yeah, well, he as of what I understand yesterday or this morning, the president signed an order that requires them to reopen. It will also give them where they can't be sued by the union. So again, that's neither here nor there. So that's where part of why those things I think things are going to get back to normal. Some of the restaurants are starting to let people in at 50% capacity. If guy from church said Olive Garden yesterday was, I know Shirley's is going to open on Friday, and they're only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday anyway. So I plan on being up there Friday afternoon at 4, and some other places. Others have not. I talked to folks at Giovanni's, I think it was Monday, and they have not decided when they're going to open yet for let customers in. So I'm hoping things get back to normal. I'm tired of
Barbaritos in Johnson City near Chick-fil-A is open.
Okay. Yeah. Chick-fil-A yesterday was not letting people in, but yeah, there again, I think it's up to the restaurants, and I'm tired of eating my cooking, folks. Okay.
I do remember that last question that I was going to ask you. What is the absolute latest for the labs?
Whatever the due dates are there listed.
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
All right, I got a few that I'm working on, and
I am trying to, the work. I'm trying to do the best I can and try to submit to you what I've gotten, but
I understand. The due dates listed are when they are supposed to be turned in. Okay. Let me find the one Derek just sent me.
the code is totaled through. I'll submit the other one too straight to you now.
Okay.
I'd love to attend the rest of this session. However, I have other matters that I need to attend to.
Okay.
I'll catch the rest on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're recording it, and basically I'm just answering questions today. I am not sure what your question is about it, Derek, other than you've got the wrong formulas in. I had sent you, again, part of it, but, again, I'm not sure. We may need to talk about that offline.
Okay, understood.
All right. Okay.
I know several of us were wanting to know about the opening and file handling.
Okay.
Would have been 34, I believe, lab 34, the quotes of the doctors and whatnot.
Yeah.
Could you briefly go over that?
Well, for file handling without functions, you open the file, and if you want to read it, you would open it for reading. And then, depending on what it asks for, in most cases, when you're opening and reading the file, you're going to use a for loop. That's the easiest way. So, where I say for line in the file handle, each time it goes through the loop, it's going to read the next line of the file. Here's the file that it's reading in this case. And then once it's got the line of the file, then whatever processing you need to do. In this particular example, we are going to strip out some information. If I run this one right now, you can see that each line is done. If I'm going to comment out this strip line.
How'd you get it though? I couldn't get on the bonus one.
And when I look at this, you see there's the extra blank line in between. So doing the strip function pulled out that extra blank line, that new line at the end, because remember that did, and then I printed it. So
is it counting those lines in positions like 0, 1, 2, 3, like it does in a list? Does that make sense what I'm trying to ask? Like, say you had 5 items in a list, numbers, whatever, strings, and they each take position 0 through 4. Is in that text file, are the lines going downward 0, 1, 2, 3, like that? Or have you got
it's not counting them unless you tell it to count them. If you wanted to count them as you went, you could add a counter. I could add something like, and I could then say here, line count equals, or let's do the plus equal, to add 1 to it each time. And I could then put actually here in my print the line number. And that would do it. But it's not actually, unless you tell it to count the lines, it's not counting them.
Well, how do you use a particular, is it all or nothing typically then with the text file? Like you're going to either take everything that's in it or nothing at all, or how would you?
It basically, when you open it for reading, you get the entire text file, and then you have to process the lines as you need. Maybe I'm not 100% sure your question.
Well, that was kind of what I meant. Like, say you got them numbered right there, number 3, I can read lines from a file. Mm-hmm. If for some reason you needed just that out of your 4-sentence text file, how do you get just that into outputs? What I'm trying to get at.
There you would, as you process it, you would use maybe an if statement to only output the line you needed. You'd still read through all of them, but you would only process the line that you actually needed. So if you wanted just line 3, in this case, I'm counting them as I've gone, I could do if, and I probably, actually, before I change this, let me copy this. And I could do something like if line count equals 3, then do the stripping and the printing. In this case, when I run it, it only prints line 3. So you still read all the lines, but you search whatever the criteria is for searching, you search down until you find the line you want. Does that make sense?
It does to me.
I think so. I'm not even sure if these were the right questions to be asking. I'd literally right before the Zoom started looked at the Word document for the next lab and just I remember I had been in a Zoom where you had talked about file handling, but I think I only caught half the Zoom that day.
Yeah.
And I just, since nobody else had questions on the final, I thought, well, I'd try to wrap my head around.
Mr. Perry, I got really close on my lab. Would you mind taking a look and just seeing? I had trouble separating out the strip and the other one from the print.
Okay.
I had them working together.
Yeah.
But
What is the lab number?
The one from last night, the bonus one. Lab 34.
34. Okay. Let me bring that up. I'm going to stop sharing while I go into D2L. Because I don't think it would show anything that anybody doesn't want to see, but just in case. Which section are you in?
I think 02.
02. Okay.
I didn't submit it at all. I kind of gave up on it.
Okay, you didn't submit anything?
Yeah, I thought maybe I could share my screen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. I misunderstood.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so I got really close. When I had this print in the same thing here, it would work. But then I read the directions. I was like, okay, he's wanting 2 different functions for that and then printing it.
Okay.
And
let's see. Your open is good. Your split. Okay, your split seems to be working okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what to return here.
Okay. Let me think. See, there's a couple of ways of doing it, so I'm trying to figure out how you're doing. Okay, you want to return X, which is your list. And what it will be is it'll be a list that will have 2 fields.
I thought the X was a line in each.
Well, once you split it, it makes it a list. Go ahead and just to see that, still in that for loop, right below where you've got the strip, just do a print of X so you can see what X looks like.
Oops, that's not what I wanted.
Okay, and then run it. See now, each row is a list with 2 items. The quote, this last one's easy to see, the George Patton, and the comma separates the 2. So the if everything is the quote, and then the comma. So it sends it created, when you did a split, it took that line of text and it made it a list, in this case with 2 items, depending on, since you're splitting it on on what was the dash. I think with the exception of I think there's one with some bad data where it's got an extra dash in it, but it just has 2 items in it. So that's what you want to return. You want to return X.
Okay, I thought that X would just be 1 line, and I thought that I would need to return like make a whole new like file handle basically.
Let's see actually how you're doing it. Okay. The way you're doing it. You actually, instead of returning anything in your split, you actually want to call your print quotes inside that for loop in the split line to print them.
Wait, say that again?
Okay, where we just did the print there, there you actually, this is where you want to call that print quotes function you created. So you want to call the print quotes function from inside your split list. So
that's why I had it before, but I thought that your instructions looked like you wanted 3 different functions.
Well, you've got the 3 functions. You've got the file open, you've got the split, and then the print.
You're going to call the function in the function?
Yeah, call the function in the function.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can call a function inside of another function. So
okay.
Go and replace that print with the print quotes,
and then
pass it X. And you can go ahead and get rid of that just print X line above it.
And that should work?
Yeah, that should work. There you go.
Oh. I knew it was something little.
Yeah. Yeah, you were real close. Go ahead and you were close enough. Go ahead and submit it.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Good job.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions?
What about the extra credit today?
Which one was the extra credit for that's due tonight? I don't remember which one's which.
I think that was.
Okay, that was it? Okay.
I believe.
Yeah. That may have been it. Now, questions about the final?
No, sir.
Here again, it's the questions part is going to concentrate on things since the midterm. So if statements, while loops, functions, those things. Any of the math functions, the random functions, I will guarantee you there's questions on the random functions on it. Not everybody's going to get the exact same questions, so you're going to get probably 20 out of whatever I have in the test bank on it. Some of the folks that submitted questions on print formatting and input, and those we should have already known, and those were covered in the first exam, so those weren't there. Again, the email I sent out earlier, some of you that did questions probably figured out how hard it is now to actually write a test question. The programming part, you will have to do a while loop. You will have to do some sort of an if statement. You may have to do them both in the same program, depending on which program you pick. The first section is more if statements. If else, elifs, nested ifs. Know how to use ands and ors. They're probably, if you get those in your selection, I've got about 10 programs and you're going to get 3 showing. So might get 3, so Kaylee gets 3, and Kayla gets 3 different ones, and Derek gets one that Kaylee had and one that Kayla had. So it's just going to pull them randomly from there, but they should be very similar in complexity. I can guarantee there is one on it that is similar to the currency one, where you use the if-else ifs to determine whether it's $1 or $10, where you use an if and a series of elifs. Like I say, I'll guarantee there are a couple of those on it. Whether or not those will be presented to you, I don't know. There are a couple of them that require nested ifs. So maybe you've got an if and then an if inside of an if. One of them or a couple of them, depending, you may ask the user for something. Depending on how they answer, you go into the true condition on one of the ifs and you ask them something different. Maybe if you ask them what their favorite toy is and they put it in, and if they say their favorite toy is a truck, you ask them what kind of truck. And so that would be a nested if and do something. And in that other question, respond to it. There will be, some of those will say use functions, some may not say use functions. Use a main function properly in all cases, but if it tells you to create other functions, do so.
I will, I promise.
Okay. All right, the second part, or the second set of questions, will concentrate on while loops. And you may have a while, an if statement inside of a while loop or something that way. Again, similar to some of the assignments we have, there may be, we didn't do a while loop with a star pattern, but there may be a star pattern with a while loop as one possibility.
No patterns.
No patterns. Well, you won't get just that. So if you happen to get 3 star patterns as your only 3 choices, get in touch with me and I'll let you restart that part. But you may get one of those. There will be some tables where maybe I'm having you do a calculation, say from 10 down to 1, have a calculation. Could be like the ones we did with the angles and the areas, those kind of things, where you build tables. There are some questions that way. There are some lists. Some programs or choices will require you to create lists or go through and parse lists. If I give you a list in there to use as your sample data, don't write a program that only works with that particular list, because the list I may use may have different data. I don't think it was any of you guys, I hope, but in one of those list programs where I had you, I think it was maybe the odd even ones, somebody hard coded an if statement that said, if it was 33 or 31 or 28, 25 or whatever the numbers I gave you as the odd ones, then say odd. If it was one of the others, say even. And if I change those values, it doesn't work. So it needs to be written in such a manner that if I change the data, it still works. Question and answers.
I have to know, did you let him fly, or him or her fly with that though? Because it did.
No, I took off significantly.
Oh.
Wasn't you, was it?
No, but I just, you know, at the end of the day, it probably worked for the equation you gave them. I just wondered if you let them have the points for originality. I guess.
No, I think I maybe gave him a 50 on it, so I gave him some points. Part of the reason that I'm doing random programs like this is, again, to reduce the opportunities to cheat. I don't think any of the 5 of you that are in here now, and of course some others will listen to it, would be in that one. I think I know you guys too well. But I have caught some cheating going on. I had a situation with a lab that was submitted that I took, and they changed the comments a little bit. They had not even changed variable names, and you put line by line of the code together, and they were not only identical, but they were identically wrong.
Live and learn is my motto.
Yeah. And I actually had, when we were still meeting in class, a situation where a student had not locked his computer. He went out to go to the restroom, came back and saw another student taking a picture of his screen with his cell phone. And he reported it to me. So any other questions, or any questions about anything that's going to be on it?
I'll try to do the best for my exam. If I don't, then I'll see you in the fall, though. So
okay. All right. Don't know. This is something that the vice president has to make a decision, but due to the number of people that dropped some of these classes that switched to online, they actually may add some classes in the summer if they can get TBR to allow them to use lower enrollments. I don't hold your breath, and I don't know what it would be, but I have heard a rumor that they're going to try to get TBR to not enforce the limits on number of students on summer classes. A full-time faculty member has to have 18 people in the class on the first day of class, and an adjunct has 12. And if there is 11 in the summer, it will get canceled on an adjunct, and 17, it gets canceled for a full-time or switch to an adjunct.
What is TBR? What's TBR?
Tennessee Board of Regents. Good question. They are the governing body for all the community colleges in Tennessee. Up until about 2 years ago, they also governed all of the universities except UT. They also are the governing body of all the Tennessee Technology Centers. So Northeast State has to answer to and follow all the rules set by Tennessee Board of Regents. And so those are their rules. Where I have heard that they are looking at possibly, and I don't know if it'll be any of our classes or not, or anything you guys need that would be offered, but I know that that is a talk about it. I suspect maybe what they'll look at are classes that had a high drop rate, although those folks that dropped because it went to online are probably unlikely to sign up for an online class. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Little story about TBR. Working in Mike's office, I had a Cat5 cable where I could plug directly into the school's network. So I was good for about a week or two, and then he got an email from, I believe it was Carl. It was either Carl or Kevin.
It's Carl. It was probably Carl.
I believe it was Carl, but he asked Mike, who is Dan Tucker's MacBook and how is he accessing the internet?
Yeah, this is not This is actually not a TBR. This is a Northeast state policy.
Well, I made it TBR though, because having a warped sense of humor, I went in and changed my computer to identify as TBR audit instead
Okay.
of my MacBook.
Yeah, that's good.
Needless to say, he did not think that was funny at all. I am now banned. I'm not sure how he banned my computer from the school's
MAC address.
Yeah.
MAC address.
So, yeah, now I'm banned from the school's network. I can still use the Wi-Fi, but I can't get into the Cat 5 wired network.
Mordak looks at MAC addresses. I think he's gone overboard, but used to, anytime I fired up a VM in my office, my port got shut down and I'd have to call him. Finally, after a while, he just opened the port and anything can be plugged in from my office now.
Right.
In the computer org class last year, as soon as they plugged Raspberry Pis in 28, I think he ran down to 28 to see what was getting plugged in. Are these owned by Northeast State? So
he probably physically ran. You're right.
In the new building, the specialty labs, the two programming labs, cyber defense, Internet of Things, and networking labs, those will be controlled by or by the computer science department, not computer services. Therefore, students will be able to plug their own personal devices in those rooms.
That's good.
I'm in charge. I control those. I'll let you do whatever I want. Okay. Any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. If you have any, send me an email. I will be checking emails, and I will be checking emails this weekend. A lot of times on the weekends, I kind of tune out, but now I'm not going to check them constantly, but I'll check them 2 or 3 times a day, especially Sunday, since that's where the final begins, in case there are any issues with it. Feel free there. If any of you do need a one-on-one, send me an email and we can set up a one-on-one Zoom. Hopefully we'll get through this, and in the fall we'll be back in person. I miss seeing some of you, not you, Dan.
Right.
But some of you I do miss seeing in class.
Yeah. Luckily, I'll be there in the fall.
Okay, Kaylee, what were you saying?
There was one more question. I think I'm getting in chats about Lab 33. Vera, is your audio working? I guess not. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I had it muted.
I'm not sure how to ask exactly what Kayla's talking about. Can you care to ask her?
Okay, so we made it through the first and second function, but we weren't able to figure out what the third function for Lab 33 should be to drop the first 2 numbers and get the third one. And we tried everything we could think of to figure that out, and neither one of us can get it yet. So
that one was the Fibonacci?
Yes.
Okay. Let me bring that one up.
Yeah, because I've got the sequence, and then I've got the finding the sequence, and then I've got let me think, what's the second one? Because that was a 2-part one. And then the getting to every third, I've tried 2 different things and couldn't get neither one of them to work.
Okay. So you've got a function that asks the user how many numbers.
Yeah.
A function that'll find the next by passing it the previous 2. The main function is going to initialize the list. So counting the main, there are 3 functions. There are only 2 that you're going to create.
Yeah, the one by passing the previous 2 we're not sure what that is.
All right.
Because
Actually,
that's getting every third number, right?
Do you want me to share mine on the screen? I think I've got it figured out, and then you can take over my mouse, Mr. Perry.
if you want, yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking I had something similar, but go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, because me and her's been tossing ideas back and forth, trying to figure it out. And
my guess is you're overthinking.
oh, I'm sure I am. I always overthink labs.
Having to do a little preferences here to give you control of my mouse.
Yeah.
Can you move?
We're looking at 33, and you've got 32 up.
Oh, sorry.
All right, okay. Let's see what you got.
There's the top.
Okay, you have it overly complex. Okay, unshare your screen and let me share mine. And I'll get you started. Yeah. Yours is like I say, you've got it, yours overly complex. Let me clean.
Now you see why I was so upset when my cat erased it.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying hard to figure out, make it work, but my cat erased it.
Mm-hmm. Have you, if you've watched the Monty Python Spam, or not Spam, Cheese Shop, the cat plays a part in there, in it. So we've got the main, we've got a function for initialize. I'm going to call it a init, and we're not going to pass it anything, but we are going to return a value. And so get number of items, and then we're going to have another function that is going to get next, and we're going to pass it two values. I'll say A and B. And it is going to find next item. And so it's going to return the next item. So what we'll do in main, we're going to initialize the list with the first two items, which are 0 and 1. So fib is going to be equal to 0, 1. All right. So then we're going to run the init, and actually, sorry, num items is going to be equal to the init, and if I could spell items, that's going to be call the init, and that's where you're going to ask the user how many Fibonacci numbers, okay? So the init is going to ask number of Fibonacci numbers, and then it's going to return that number. Then in the get next, you're going to find the next Fibonacci number by adding the two numbers together that we passed, and then return it. So you would add together the two numbers that were passed, A and B, and return that value. So the next thing we would do is pass it the last two numbers. So in get next, if I have a list, how do I pass it the last two items in the list?
Use the LEN.
No.
Index -2 and index -1.
Ah, exactly right. You could do the length, but that's the hard way. Say fib of -1, and the order doesn't matter here because of what we're doing. It's B, not a G. I must be hungry thinking about figs and stuff. Now, yeah, you could use the length, Dan, but the easier way is -1 and -2 get the last two items, but you're going to have to return it to something is equal. So that would return the next item, and then you would append it to the list. Does that make sense? Everybody see that?
It's definitely a different approach than the way I had it.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure the numbers out before they got put into the list.
Well, see, what this get next function does is come up with the next number in the list. Right. So when you then append it to the list, so you pass it a 0 and 1, it returns a 1, and you add it to the list. So now your list is 0, 1, 1. So then the next time through, and I just put a next item here. This is really in a for loop or a while loop, either way, or actually a while loop, I guess would be better. So this would be a while. Here's where you would use the length of the list. The length of fib is less than or equal to the number of items that you did. So yeah, you would put that in the function, and along with the append, and so each time it goes through, the first time you're going to pass it 0 and 1, it's going to return a 1. You add that to the list. Next time it passes it a 1 and 1, the last two items in the list, it returns a 2. You add it to the list. And you keep doing that until the length of the list, the size of the list, is the number of items that you told it to enter. Okay.
Is the way that I had it done necessarily wrong, or just a little bit harder than if I'd have done it this way?
It's quite a bit harder. As long as it gives you the proper list, it probably would have been okay. I'd have to look at it a little more detail, but it was certainly overly complex.
Mine was doing the all the math to get the number and then putting it into the list. Each time through, it was doing it each time through the loop, and it had the while loop with the number the person entered as the upper part of the range when to stop. But it was just doing all the math was being done down in the function, you know.
Yeah. Well, the math is actually would be done down in the function. So here in this get next, that's where you would do the math. But I think you were doing too much of the math down in the function.
I was doing a lot of it. Yeah. Mine, the way it was doing it, it was kind of like I was passing it off between three variables. So by the time it come around to append them to the list, it knew what number to put, but it wasn't really doing it based off of what was in the list. It was doing that externally, and just putting in the correct amount of numbers to the list.
That makes, you know, by having the list here, this is a much more efficient way of doing it. Yours, if we timed it, if we went and said do 10,000 items and we timed how long each of those took to run, this one would go much quicker.
Right.
If I finished those last couple and I ran it with 10,000, it's actually going to take longer to print the list than it would to calculate it. But if we were to time it, yours probably, especially with 10,000 items, would probably take quite a bit longer than mine.
Right.
I got a quick question about file handling.
Okay.
Whenever you have a separate function that is reading the file or whatever, and you need to close your file handle, where do you close it? Because you can't just close it once it's separate.
You'll return the file handle like we did or here, but you just close it in main at the end of main.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay to close. It's okay to have a function to open the file handle, but you can still close it back in main. Okay. It is, if you're opening a file to write, it is very important to close it. If you're opening it for reading, the truth is it doesn't matter. But writing to the file, if you don't close it, it is possible that the last data doesn't get written. Sort of like up until the fall update on Windows 10, they say eject your USB drive. Well, doing the ejecting properly, make sure that any open files get closed and written. What they do now in Windows 10, the default now, is that it opens and closes and keeps everything written. It doesn't store anything in a buffer, but prior it did. And that's the same thing here. If there's something in a buffer that hasn't actually been written to the file, and you don't, and for some reason it doesn't exit the program properly, that data may not be written, and your file could get corrupted.
Is it like a memory leak thing where you're just never telling it to stop? And
it's not like a memory leak, but it is like never telling it to stop or never telling it you're finished writing to the file so it stays open. A memory leak, the program keeps using more and more memory. Typically a memory leak is in language, Java and C++ are real bad about it. With a memory leak, you use a variable in a function and you exit that function and it's not properly cleaning out the memory. And that's typically what a memory leak does. And C++ and Java are very bad for memory leaks. It's supposed to, when you exit a function and you have a variable that is local to that function or only used in that function, it's supposed to free up that memory, and doesn't always work that way. It's gotten a lot better now that both languages have added trash collection. And that is where the program will use the operating system to periodically go through and clean out unused memory. Okay, good question. Others?
I have one question. When you run your virtual machines, are you putting actual legitimate Windows installations on there, or are you just not putting the code in?
Okay, it depends. That's a good one. It depends. If I am creating a virtual machine for testing purposes and such, I won't put a license key in. If I'm creating a virtual machine that is going to be used, let's say production, even if it's on my machine, my personal machine, then I will use keys.
Okay, because I got the free Windows 10 that you get as a student.
Yeah.
And I had it installed on my MacBook through boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I put a bigger hard drive in and had talked with you a little bit about the virtual machines. So on this next go around, I tried to just I did. I run Windows now through VMware, but when I tried to use my code to tie it into that it's my school version of Windows and stuff, it said that it had already been used. It wasn't recognizing it as being on the same computer.
Microsoft says that you are supposed to be able to use that code as a student 5 times. That's what they say. I don't know why it's not letting you use it 5 times, but you're supposed to do that. There is a way to unregister, but I would have to search on Microsoft's website to tell it, okay, I've had to reinstall and I need to reuse. It's been a long time. Before they went to Azure for Education, when they were using the On the Hub, which is the way we get our VMware, there was actually a way for me to go and give you additional keys. That has been taken away from me in the Azure for Education. So, otherwise, I'd give you another.
I got it from On the Hubs where I initially got it from.
Okay, probably because you got it from there, and now they're using the Azure for Education. That may be an issue. I don't know. Search on Microsoft's website about being able to reinstall with the same product key, and there's probably somewhere that will tell you how you contact Microsoft to get them to reset that key.
If you create a thumb drive off your Windows before you go to delete and reinstall it, does that negate the problem?
I do not know. I don't know.
I didn't know if it passed the credentials into that USB thumb drive, because my main computer, I'm fixing to put a new hard drive in it, but I'm afraid to mess with it because it's another licensed copy of Windows that came with that computer, and I don't want to knock it out of commission and not have a working licensed copy.
I would look on Microsoft's website and find, because I know there is a process where you contact them and let them know your product key and that you know why you need a reinstall, and they can somehow reset that. It's been so long since I've looked at it, I do not remember the process.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right, I'm hoping they get our. We're having issues with Azure for Education right now and getting product keys, and Kevin is supposed to be working on it, but so far I've not heard from him. He was asked again about it in a meeting last week and didn't get any real response. So, is
it gonna adversely affect our Office 365 setup?
Office 365 is a whole different animal.
Okay.
I do know that with Office 365, you can unregister Office 365. You go to the website where you downloaded 365, and you can go in with your account there and unregister a machine on it. So that's a whole different animal.
I just hope it doesn't mess that up.
Yeah.
I've made good use of that OneDrive. That's actually a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
1 terabyte of storage we get.
Yeah. They, I don't know what we pay Microsoft for that, because I think our entire site license, other than our specialty labs, is a one bill, but I know we pay probably for not only Office 365, but all of the desktop licenses and things. Our volume agreement's probably in the $50,000 to $60,000 a year range. And I have asked them, because it gets renewed in August, I have asked them to add, see if we can add some licenses for VDI for our new infrastructure, and we'll see what happens there. All right. Any other questions?
I got a question. I emailed you about this. You might not have seen it because I'm sure you're getting a ton of emails right now. But you said after the midterm, you would wait until everyone took it to make it so that you could look at what questions you missed. And I've always been, I keep checking on that. And
I had seen yours and just had not gotten back to it. I had forgotten all about that with everything going on after the night class, which ended up doing theirs online. I had forgotten all about it until you sent that email. I'll try to get that done today or tomorrow.
Mr. Perry, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. I'll talk to you later. So bye, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye.
On second thought, I'm just gonna stick around. I'll stick around to 120.
Okay. Well, any other questions? Well, I'm going to go ahead and